Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Black Phone 2. It came out about a month ago and I finally had a chance to go see it yesterday, and let's talk about it. So I did a review of Black Phone when it first came out, like, I don't know, 3-ish years ago. I quite enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 7 out of 10. I actually just rewatched it on Friday prior to me going to see the sequel, and I still agree with my ranking of 7 out of 10 for Black Phone. And for Black Phone 2, I actually also gave it 7 out of 10. I quite enjoyed this movie. I was talking about it with my sister on our way home after seeing it, and what I really liked about it was, even though that this very much introduced like the idea of like spirits and stuff a lot more so than the first Black Phone, it still like made sense to like this world's version of like spirits and everything like that. Like, yes, certain things were introduced, but it didn't contradict what they had done in the first Black Phone movie. So for example, in the first Black Phone movie, Finney is hearing voices of the previous victims of the grabber over the phone, and we never hear those voices again in the second one. And it makes sense because their spirits are now at rest. They weren't at rest in the first movie, so they came to Finney and they like helped him to escape, and then they were at rest once their bodies were found and the mystery was kind of solved. And now in this movie, we never hear those voices again. We hear voices of other boys that the grabber had killed, and it just, I don't know, it made sense. This world that has been set up and the way that they have the spirits and everything, it just made sense, and it didn't contradict what had already been established in the first one. So I don't know if that made any sense, but the movie made sense and I liked it. So even though Mason Thames is still the title character of this film, this is definitely more so his sister's story than his. So we have his sister Gwen, who was a very prominent character in the first one. She's the one who has premonition dreams, and she sees things in her dreams that helped find Finney and helped find the boys in the first one. So she's having these dreams again of something, and it's her, the one who really wants to investigate these things and look into what happened and what's going on. And it's actually Finney who's very much like, nah, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, he very reluctantly goes along with her to figure out what's going on with these other boys and stuff. And it makes sense because he is very much trying to just numb the pain of everything that happened to him, which is very understandable. He went through something horrible, so he's very much just trying to numb the pain. And even though his sister is trying to break him out of it and trying to get him to talk to her, he just wants nothing to do with it. And there is this scene where she confronts him about it in the movie, and I really liked that scene. I thought everything she said was really powerful, and it also really showed how Finney puts on this front that he's fine and he's not scared. And we see that right at the beginning of the movie when Finney first comes on screen. He acts like he's all tough, and even though he went through something super traumatic, he still tries to pretend it didn't affect him and that he's fine. But when Gwen finally calls him out on it, it just hits him really hard, and you really see like he is still affected by it. He probably will forever be affected by what happened to him because it was a horrible, horrible situation. Of course he's still going to be affected by it. He just kind of learns that there's other ways to deal with his trauma and his grief other than the ways he's been doing throughout this movie. So I really enjoyed this movie. It was still quite different than the first movie in the sense that there was a lot more supernatural stuff going on. Like, obviously the first one had some supernatural things going on, but this one was definitely more so because in the first one the grabber is still alive and the voices are coming to Finney over the phone, and like that's the supernatural aspect of it. But everything that's going on via the grabber and stuff, that's happening in real time. And yes, Gwen's dreams are obviously like supernatural kind of a deal, but in this one it's very much more so because now the grabber is dead, so he's coming to Gwen and to Finney again in a supernatural way. And so there's a lot more supernatural things going on in this one than there was in the first one, and it was very interesting. And even though this movie had a buttload of dream sequences, which I feel like may not be everybody's jam. I really liked how they distinguished what was a dream in comparison to what was real and what was reality. I actually really liked how they did that. I thought it looked really, really cool. So I don't have a ton to say about this movie. I did enjoy it. Like I said, I gave it 7 out of 10. I will 100% buy it when it comes out on DVD to go with my first one. I'll rewatch both of them. I had a great time with both of them. I do think I liked the first one a little bit better, but this one was still really good. The acting in it was incredible, both from Mason Thames, Madeline McGraw, who plays Gwen, and then obviously Ethan Hawke, who plays the grabber. He was amazing. A lot less screen time in this one. Ethan Hawke had a lot less screen time in this one, but he still really captivated the screen anytime he was on screen. There's one thing I want to talk about that I really, really liked about this movie, but it is a spoiler, so I'm gonna insert a spoiler warning here. If you are interested in seeing this movie and you don't want the ending spoiled, then thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. But if you have watched it, or if you don't care, then let's get into a little bit of a spoiler. So as I said, this movie is very much more so Gwen's story than it is Finney's story. She is definitely the more prominent character. She has a lot more things going on with her during this movie than Finney does. Finney is still very much involved, but it is definitely more so Gwen's story. She's the one dealing with a lot more things than, I guess she's more so putting herself into the situations that Finney wants to be. One thing I really enjoyed was at the very end of the movie when they essentially defeat even the spirit of the grabber. I really enjoyed that they gave that moment to Finney. Yes, this was Gwen's story and she was fantastic in this movie, and I really liked how this more put things on her than it did on Finney. But I loved that Finney got that moment at the end of the movie where he kind of got to essentially re-kill the grabber. If you've watched the first one, you know that Finney kills the grabber at the end of the movie, and that's very much a theme throughout this movie, is he tries to put on this tough act because he killed a serial killer. Obviously, the trauma is a lot for him, which again is delved into in this movie. But I really liked that at the end of this movie, when him and Gwen were essentially defeating the spirit of the grabber, it was Finney who got to kind of take control, and he got to really, really be the one to defeat and I guess essentially send the spirit of the grabber to where it belongs. Even though this movie was Gwen's story, as I said, and a lot of the things happened to Gwen, almost everything that happened with the grabber happened to Finney. And I feel like even though he did get that sense of, I don't know, not necessarily closure in the first movie when he killed him, because obviously he was going through a lot of things afterwards, I feel like this kind of essentially gave him more closure, getting to kill the grabber again, especially after the grabber was trying to go after Gwen and hurt Gwen. You won't do this to me anymore, you won't affect me, you won't affect my family, get out of here kind of a deal. So I really liked the ending. I really liked that Finney got to have his closure type moment with the grabber. That is my short review of Black Phone 2. I quite enjoyed it. I really liked all the supernatural aspects to it. There was a lot of dream sequences in it, but they did make sense. They were a part of the story. Gwen's dreams were a very large portion of this movie and a part of the story, so I felt that they were essential. It wasn't too many dream sequences that are pointless, or too many dream sequences where something happens in the dream and then you wake up and it didn't actually happen. What was happening in the dreams was actually happening. So I liked it. I gave it 7 out of 10. I quite enjoyed it, and that's going to be it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday, and I'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.